Okay, here's another really quick tutorial in Touch Designer. This is to help Abby in our class. She wants to have it so that when you scroll in with the mouse wheel, some image appears, and when you scroll out, it disappears with some kind of transition to it. So she's figured out a lot already, but this part I think I needed to maybe give some direction for. So this will be helpful to other people, I'm sure. So the first thing is mouse in is how we can get access to the scroll wheel. We don't care about the X or Y position, but we do care about the wheel. So I'll just make a new channel here called W. And what I'm going to do first is just go back here and make sure I can open the perform window always on top and open it as a separate window. I'll just shrink it down so that I can do my scrolling over off in the corner. So there it is, really small, move it over, and then go back into the project. So when I scroll up, you can see the number just keeps going up, which makes it very difficult because if you want to zoom out, then you have to go back and back and back until you get to negative. So if you keep scrolling in forever, it can make it difficult and weird to deal with. So one thing I can do is, let me bring it back down. One thing I can do is just make this go to a slope chop, which will tell us instead whether it's going up or down. So it actually checks the current and the previous sample, the current and the next sample. So if I go up, it gives us a positive number. If I go down, it gives us a negative number. So that kind of solves that. The next thing is I want to maybe get like a channel that's 0 for going, or gives us a 1 in a channel if we're scrolling in the right direction. So let's try that. I could just use an expression for this and say, anytime this is a positive number, greater than 0, it should give me a 1 there. And it is. As I'm scrolling in, it's giving me a 1. As I scroll out, it doesn't give me a 1. So I will do the same thing for scrolling the other way. So if it's a negative number, then that one will give me a 1. So this will be helpful. The first thing is I want to know when I'm scrolling in, I want somehow a channel to increase and stay increased, right? Like fade from nothing to 1 maybe. And then when I zoom out, I want it to go back from 1 down to 0. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. So the first thing is, this is the direction I actually want to go. So I would say I might be able to just do a hold here. Well, do I want to hold? I want to trigger, I think. So that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to trigger something. So when I scroll in, it does it, but you can see it does like a weird ADSR envelope. And what I really want is for it to have like some attack to it. Let's say it's just over half a second. I want the sustain to go all the way to 1. That was what I said. I want it to go fully in. I don't need a decay. And we do want a release. I'll just make that like something, a second or so. Okay, so now when I trigger it, let me hit the trigger button. It goes up and then comes back down. That's what we're looking for. And if I hold this down, it will stay at 1 because it's in the sustain period. And then when I let go, it'll go back down. This seems like exactly what I want. So now what I need is something that will hold it on, this push button. So I should be able to just add a hold here. Hold. And I need both of the information I want to hold and also the trigger. So I will drag this down to connect both of those. When I scroll in, it goes from 0 to 1 here. It gets held here. And then when I scroll out, what I would like is for this one to release the hold. So there's actually a pause button here, a pulse button that will cause it to go back down. And I could just connect this right to that. So let me just connect this to the pulse button. And that should be mostly it. If I scroll in, it goes up from 0 to 1. I scroll out, it goes back down to 0. Great. So I could actually probably just like load a banana and maybe, let me make this go to an out here. I think I could just connect this. This is kind of silly, but let me just connect it to its scale, which I suppose we need a transform for that. So let me add a transform. And I will just connect this right to the scale parameter. So when I scroll in, it zooms in, and then when I go out, it goes out. Perfect. The last thing is for Abby in particular, like let's say, you only want this to work when you're in a certain part of the screen. And on the previous video, I showed how you can set up sort of hotspots on the screen, but if you know that you're over a hotspot, how do you get it to just do this zoom effect, or how to just do that zoom effect for when you're in the right place on the screen. Whatever it is, if that's it, or if it's you're on the left half or the right half, whatever criteria you have, it ends up being like true or false, right? So I can kind of simulate that with a button. Let me just say this button is like correct part of screen. Like this is literally when it's pressed down, I'm in the correct part of the screen. So I will just add a null here, and you'll see anytime I push the button, now I'm on the correct part of the screen. Then I click that again, I'm off the correct part of the screen. So the way I can do this is just basically to say, instead of just anytime you scroll in, zooming, let's insert a logic in here and say, only if this is true and this is true. That's what logic does for us. So I will add a logic and say combine channels, combine chops using and. So if I say this goes in and this goes in, if I zoom, it doesn't turn on. But if I'm in the correct part of the screen and I zoom, then it does, right? That's what this does for us. So now it's just a matter of replacing these lines here. So we've kind of put this in place of it. Let me just drag these over. Okay, so that should work. I don't know what's happened. Let's see. Scale, trigger. Oh, okay. So when I combined them, it changed the name. So I've got this name here is V1 and this one is W. So that means it got changed to V1. So everything got broken. I can either just change this to V1. That's probably the easiest thing to do. V1, everything is V1 now. So let me scroll in. Doesn't work. If I hold this down and then scroll in, it does work. And so does zooming out. I don't have to check really to see if I'm in the right part of the screen for zooming out. Maybe I care, but in this case, it seems fine. So that's it. We've got a zooming in effect.